Hi everybody, this is Jack R., otherwise known as Racontra 1, and I thought it was time to give you a little vlog about my Mopar Turbo cars from the mid-80s. An interesting pair of cars, and this time I have some pictures that will illustrate what they were like. But first I'd like to tell you that I'm getting very close to 2,200 videos, and of course, I never thought when I started it was going to get to this point. So I really want to, again, thank you all for viewing and commenting and liking, thankfully, the videos that I show. And this time I'm going to talk about the Chrysler K-Car Turbos that I had. First one that I purchased, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, was Chrysler Laser 1985. And I have a picture of it here. Let me get that for you. And I'm relying on the webcam, so we'll see how well that turns out. Here it is right here. And you can see front and back views. And there's the underhood area. And a little bit more about it. Can't see too much inside, although I can say that inside it was very well upholstered. It had a 5-speed manual transmission, and the only problem with it was with the linkage on that transmission. It gave out at one point, so I had to drive a considerable distance with it in second gear using back roads to get it repaired. And here we have a vehicle I'd probably rather not talk about too much, is that lovely Dodge Dakota truck that I had, which had problems with its rear end. Now, it's my opinion a car shouldn't have problems with the differential. That should work without question. And it developed a noise. Under warranty, they fixed it, and sure enough, it developed the noise again. It was just a 4-cylinder vehicle, and it was grossly underpowered. It had a 5-speed manual transmission, and believe me, it was only good on flatland. I took it north one time, and that was an interesting discovery because I was shifting gears all the time in areas that had any hills at all. So that was the first turbo that I had, the Chrysler Laser, which was, by the way, basically the same as the Dodge Daytona, just some trim differences. That was it. And now here's the second one, and there's again that Dodge truck again, and there is the Chrysler, I'm sorry, the Dodge Shadow. It was red with gray interior. It too was a turbo, 5-speed manual transmission, and there it was in its prime. Nice little car. And now I'm going to show you some pictures that show you something that happened to it while driving. And there it is. This happened right here in this county. I didn't live here at the time. I was driving from St. Augustine down to my home, which was many miles away, and I was minding my own business going down the highway, a 4-lane divided highway, 2 lanes on each side. I was in the right-hand lane doing 55 miles an hour, came to an intersection, and guarded by a blinking light. Now the car coming across had the red blinking light, so they should be stopping for traffic, and they were in the center section, but then they started to come across, and I saw that a collision was inevitable. So I steered partially off the road to try to avoid them, but I could see that a collision was going to happen. So as anybody who's experienced a crash knows that you get the feeling of unreality. This really isn't happening. This is stupid. It couldn't be happening, but it was happening all right. I watched the windshield crack and all the way up, and the hood go up. And this is a picture of it in the yard where it was taken before they tried to fix it. And that wheel there is pretty vertical there, but believe me, at the accident scene it was horizontal. It was 90 degrees horizontal, so it broke quite a few things. And the whole side of the car was mangled. The major impact there was at the corner post between the fender and the door. I was lucky. I was the only person in the car. I couldn't get out the driver's side, so I crawled over to the passenger side and got out there. The only thing I had wrong was a cut finger. That was it. There were no airbags in Chrysler products at this time, 1987, so nothing went off. And the car that hit me was a Chevy Impala. I'd say mid 70s would be my guess. And at any rate, there's an elderly couple, and they evidently didn't see me, and just came right across and broadsided me. And the husband, no injuries evidently. The wife, the passenger, did have a broken arm supposedly. So I insisted they tow the car. They put it on a flatbed truck and take it back to where I live so that I could supervise its reconstruction. They didn't do a bad job, but it was not really quite the same as it was before the crash. And it was a new car before the crash. I was really kind of surprised they didn't total it, but they didn't. So later on, I traded it for an '89 Dodge Grand Caravan, which I had for quite a few years. So that was my story of the two Chrysler turbo cars that I had, Mopars, and I got satisfactory service from them. But always lingering in my mind was the concern that those turbo bearings get oil, because if they didn't, and if they failed, I was advised that they'd have to remove the engine, at least partially, to get at that turbo, and it would be a very expensive proposition to uh, deal with replacing a turbo. In fact, I had a switch installed that essentially uh, eliminated the coil when we had an oil change. I turned the switch off so I could use the starter motor to build up the oil pressure in the system. And then when the red light went off, flip the switch on so that the coil made contact and the car would start. So essentially, it prevented the car from starting before there was sufficient oil circulating in the system. So that was my little fail-safe operation with that turbo. So now that they're moving more and more towards turbos, I remain to be convinced. That was an offering potential on the edge, but the four-cylinder turbo, but I opted for the 3.5 V6. I decided to stay with what I consider a proven drivetrain, although there may be nothing wrong with those turbos, but I just shied away from it and stayed with the conventional engine. So another point that I want to make before I close is that I have over 3 million views. And I'm astounded because I never expected this to have that kind of viewership. And I'm just a few shy, 54 shy, I think, at this point, from 3,000 subscribers. So one of these days I'm going to post my first video. and you can see the changes that have been wrought over a period of time. When I did my first video, I thought, now who is ever going to be interested in watching this? So anyhow, I survived that, And I want to thank you again for your views and your comments, and they're all very instructive to me. Thanks again.